Good evening or good morning, depending upon when you are viewing this. I'm David Swan. I am the president of the Saugatuck Dunes Coastal Alliance. We have a very full agenda this evening or this morning, so I'll try to be relatively efficient in my presentation. First, we will be talking about what's at stake given the projected impacts of the proposed sand dune mine and marina. An excavation and removal of 250,000 tons of sand from within Michigan's critical dune boundary at the mouth of the Kalamazoo River. Second, we'll talk about what the Coastal Alliance has been doing and will do to stop this threat, including a second chance opportunity as the applicant for the marina permit has to go back and get a second state permit. Third, and most importantly, we'll talk about your role, the role of the citizenry. And we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. Let me share my screen and we will begin the slideshow. All right, there we go. So again, we're going to talk tonight about what's at stake, the Coastal Alliance efforts to stop the proposed sand dune mine, and third, your role, the role of the citizenry and engaging our local elected officials. We will not have question and answer. So let's start off with a thought experiment. What if we had a 1,500 car parking lot and dune buggy scramble area, where we now have the Patty Burkholz natural area, a water treatment plant and access road to the beach, where we now have Saugatuck Dunes State Park, a private golf course and country club, where we now have the Saugatuck Harbor Natural Area. What if we had a 9-story hotel with 70 slip marina, golf course, skeet shooting range, equestrian trails, and 120 houses scattered throughout the dunes at the river mouth, where we now have a traditional cultural property of the Potawatomi. A McDonald's next door to where we now have Uncommon Grounds, a Flying J truck stop at exit 41. How would all of that development impact your use of our Saugatuck Dunes State Park, the river mouth, the Cove, Oval Beach, Oxbow? Would you have even been drawn to Saugatuck without Saugatuck Dunes State Park, without the Saugatuck Harbor Natural Area, without the Patty Burkholz Natural Area, or Talmadge Woods, without an Uncommon Grounds? Each of these development projects were proposed and pushed hard on our community. It required our community to work collaboratively and to raise our voice in one course. But together, our community did stop them, each and every one. But here we are again, fighting another inappropriate development, a proposed sand dune mine and private marina at the river mouth that would result in the permanent destruction of our dunes, wetlands, and historic sites. A development that clearly violates local, state, and federal ordinances, regulations, and laws. A development that is contrary to the public interest articulated in the Tri-Community Master Plan. And we hope that after our ad campaign this summer, everyone understands and embraces that our community investment in the ecological, historical, and cultural values at the Kalamazoo River Mouth is the perfectly balanced foundation for our tourist-based economy. This is an excerpt from the Tri-Community Master Plan. This is just an excerpt from the Tri-Community Master Plan that clearly states the importance of the tourist-based economy. So here's what the developer's proposal includes. A sand dune mine to excavate and remove 250,000 tons of sand from within Michigan's critical dune boundary. The legal limit is 3,000 tons. 250,000 tons of sand is 83 times the legal limit. That erases completely and forever 6.5 acres of rare critical dune to create an inland waterway for a private marina. A marina that's 1,600 feet long, or nearly a third of a mile, the length of the Sears Tower. 200 feet wide, about the width of the channel from the Kalamazoo River out to the Big Lake, and 18 feet deep. Construction that carves out 3,200 feet, more than half a mile of additional, or one could say, increased water frontage, as Section 910H of the local code of ordinances states. All for a gated community development, all sandwiched between publicly funded and legally designated natural areas. The proposed excavation is currently projected to drain the groundwater that feeds the globally imperiled interdunal wetlands on the Patty Burkholz natural area, desecrate the Potawatomi traditional cultural property by risking lake sturgeon, burial sites, wild rice, and other cultural values, and destroy the archaeological and historic site of Singapore. It's hard to fathom, but I could actually go on with that list. The magnitude of this threat could change our community forever. So let's talk about what the Coastal Alliance has done and what we're doing and what you can do to stop the proposed sand dune mine and private marina. So there's 3 primary areas, and each has a sub area. First, we've been advocating for strong, progressive public policy and the implementation of that policy, which means making laws enforceable, as well as regulations and good public policy truly implemented, exactly as the Citizenry has asked. Second, hold decision makers accountable to enforce those laws and follow the good public policy. And third, make sure the Citizenry raises our voice to ensure our laws are followed, that development projects are in the public interest. No longer should developers be allowed to view zoning laws as optional. So, 3 things. So the first is participate in creating and then advocating for the implementation of policies, regulations, enforceable laws. And many of us have participated in the creation of these good public policy documents already. The West Michigan Strategic Alliance Green Infrastructure Initiative, the Tri-Community Master Plan, and most recently, the Lower Kalamazoo Greenway Plan that was coordinated by the Outdoor Discovery Center. Many of us in the Saugatuck, Douglas, Saugatuck Township communities attended meetings on the Greenway Plan out at Barry and Kathy's Brewery just a few years ago. Many of us participated in the 2003 and 2004 town hall meetings, and many of us took an hour to complete a survey that went into finalizing the 2005 Tri-Community Master Plan. The Tri-Community Master Plan is our community's agreed upon economic vision and roadmap. That hour-long survey I just mentioned, there was a 42% return rate on that survey, which is absolutely unheard of for an hour-long survey, and then for people to actually mail it back. The red thread or common thread articulately holding the master plan together is preserve the scenic beauty, foster the wise use of natural resources, protect environmentally sensitive areas, and enhance the special character of the tri-communities. We need to remind our city and township officials that the joint goals and policies of the plan are premised on a pledge to mutually cooperate in guiding future development to advance this common vision. The plan directly calls for collaboration in preserving the scenic beauty that drives our tourism economy. See if I can move that. Yep, sure enough. Should have done that earlier. Sorry, folks. So, another way to protect the wild heart of Saugatuck is by implementing stronger designations, such as an overlay district. Overlay districts such as a historic district and natural river overlay district are specific ways to put the master plan in action. And we acknowledge and thank the current Saugatuck Township administration, the board, the township manager, Daniel DeFranco, the Parks Committee, the Rural Character and Natural Resources Committee. Collectively, the township government is working to protect the historic, cultural, and ecological values that drive the tri-community's tourist-based economy. They're doing that by putting in motion the needed steps to extend the Natural River Overlay District to include the river mouth, and to create a historic district commission to consider putting the township's cultural landscapes, again, the river mouth, into a historic district, not based on architecture, but based on cultural values, art, and conservation. We encourage the city of Saugatuck, responsible for 16,000 front feet on the Kalamazoo River and Old Harbor, to take similar action to implement a natural river overlay district. Currently, the city does not have a natural river overlay district in its code of ordinances, and that leaves our community incredibly vulnerable to a sand dune mine and a marina, especially if the state and federal regulatory agencies permit one to be built on the North Shore of Saugatuck. So the second area of focus, remember, we're talking about 3 ways we're focused on stopping the proposed excavation and removal of 250,000 tons of sand from within Michigan's critical dune boundary, is accountability. For the past 15 years, the Coastal Alliance has been working to hold elected officials and regulators accountable to enforcing the local code of ordinances, state natural resource protection laws, and federal permitting criteria. So remember, 3 permits, and those are 3 permits are needed for the sand dune mine and proposed marina, local, state, and federal. So we have been doing this by working to ensure decision makers take into account applicable science, economics, public policy, and laws. We show up at meetings, excuse me, and we write letters. We participate. This is a participatory democracy. We show up as the citizenry. This is the role of the 4th branch of government, the citizenry. And as a very last resort, the Coastal Alliance litigates. Which brings me to our Michigan Supreme Court victory. No doubt you are all aware of our significant victory in July with the Michigan Supreme Court defining who has standing to appeal local zoning decisions. With the Supreme Court clarification, we were back in Allegan County Circuit Court on Monday, the 26th of September. And what we learned on Monday is that our brief in our appeal of the Saugatuck Township Planning Commission permit for a proposed marina at the mouth of the Kalamazoo River, our brief is due in 45 days. Our attorneys at Olson Bisdock Howard are already hard at work on that. The Township and NorthShore of Saugatuck response to our brief will be due 30 days following that. We anticipate a trial toward the end of the year or the beginning of 2023. And we look so forward to arguing the merits of the case, especially given the very clear language in the Saugatuck Township Code of Ordinances. And almost all of you, I'm sure, watching this video have this memorized by now. Section 4910H, in no event, the threshold phrase, in no event shall a canal or channel be excavated for the purpose of increasing the water frontage. So remember, NorthShore of Saugatuck wants to add 3,200 additional feet of water frontage, more than tripling their current water frontage. So that is the local permit that we've just been talking about. Remember, 3 permits, local, state, federal. Next, we're going to talk about the state permit. So you may remember back in 2018, the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes Energy, better known as EGLE, permitted the proposed excavation of the proposed marina, and the Coastal Alliance challenged that permit. We litigated. Our trial was scheduled for March of 2020, but NorthShore of Saugatuck changed their construction and dewatering plans so significantly that the trial needed to be delayed. It was not necessarily delayed by COVID. It was delayed because of those significant changes to the NorthShore of Saugatuck construction plan. NorthShore of Saugatuck changed their plan again in March of 2021. During our appeal, outside of the public arena, the public had not yet been able to see and comment on the change to their construction and dewatering plan. So that change during our appeal was the second change when we should have been at trial. So again, they changed their plan in March of 2021, changed it again in March of 2020, changed it again for the second time in March of 2021. So NorthShore's original 5-year permit expires shortly. It expires in just 4 months in January 2023, which requires them, puts them in the position to have to reapply for permits to EGLE, which brings us to our second chance opportunity. NorthShore's reapplication for state permits gives us a second chance to convince EGLE to deny the permits, to show them how the proposed marina and excavation violate state laws, that it's contrary to the public interest. And we have a team of people who have been working with us to help decision makers understand how the proposed sand dune mine, the excavation and removal of 250,000 tons of sand from within Michigan's critical dune boundary, proposed sand dune mine, and marina violate the local code of ordinances the state's natural resource protection laws, and the federal permitting criteria. Our team includes lawyers across several law firms, hydrogeologists like Anthony Kendall from Michigan State University, a number of biologists, scientists studying the globally imperiled interdunal wetlands like Suzanne DeVries Zimmerman, Lissa Leahy, Christy Sherfinsky, whose thesis we refer to quite frequently. It's about the invasive Austrian pines and the impact upon globally imperiled interdunal wetlands. And then, of course, Tiffany Schriever, a professor at Western Michigan University. We work with scientists studying the movement of dunes, like Ed Hansen, who teaches at Hope, Alan Arbogast. We're fortunate enough to work with tribal biologists studying lake sturgeon and wild rice, marina designers and landscape architects, Bruce Lund and Richard Shaw, economists like Robbie Richardson and Brady Post, planners, public policy experts, historians, ethnological historians, cartographers, graphic designers, citizen scientists like Rick Brigham and Nick Wallace, partner organizations like the National Trust for Historic Preservation, Oxbow, the History Center, and of course, more lawyers. That's a really impressive team we have working to show how the proposed excavation and removal of 250,000 tons of sand from within Michigan's critical dune boundary will impact the cultural, historical, and ecological values that drive our tourist-based economy in the tri-communities. And we relish the opportunity to present the science, the economics, law, hydrology, 40 years of public policy focused on the Kalamazoo River Mouth, and how the developers' plans clearly violate state regulations against excavating and removing 250,000 tons of sand from within Michigan's critical dune boundary that would result in sand dune mining and a marina at the river mouth. Another benefit of the second chance is that the state is required to hold a public hearing and gather public comment regarding the projected impacts. And the state is required to notice the city of Saugatuck and Saugatuck Township to legally request comment. We don't have a date yet, but we anticipate the public comment period and public hearing later this fall, possibly early next year. And you will have an opportunity, you will have a very important role to play in attending that hearing and providing written comment. So on our website, Saugatuck Dunes Coastal Alliance.org, on our landing page, you will find a couple of documents. One is a contact card. We need to know how to contact you so that we can add you to our action alerts. Please make sure you are on our mailing list. It is very, very important that we know how to reach people who want to share their comments with the state regulatory agencies. So, going back to the third way, remember we're talking about three ways to stop the proposed marina. First, second, third, we're on the third. So the third way to stop the proposed excavation and removal of 250,000 tons of sand from within Michigan's critical dune boundary. You all are going to be able to memorize that when we're done. The third way is with the citizenry raising their voice to ensure our laws are followed. So we have a couple of specific requests for you as we mobilize to stop the state permit for the excavation of a sand dune mine and proposed marina. the contact card, as I just mentioned. Second on our website is a one-page summary. The one-page summary details the proposed excavation, again, and removal of 250,000 tons of sand from within Michigan's critical dune boundary for the proposed sand dune mine and marina, as well as the impacts of that excavation to the surrounding area. We've also included a map, so you can download that and look at it. I would recommend printing it in color so you can see all the intense green areas around the proposed sand dune mine and marina, which are publicly funded, legally designated natural areas. Use this as a cheat sheet as you talk with family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, tourists, customers. Let them know what's being proposed. Ask them to write a letter as well. And then third, we have a letter on our website that you can download. Please download it. Please download a number of them. Print them out. We're asking each of you to sign and or customize and sign a letter that asks Saugatuck City Council, as well as the City of the Village of Douglas Council and the Township Board, to pass a resolution stating the proposed sand dune mine, excavation, and removal of 250,000 tons of sand within Michigan's critical dune boundary at the Kalamazoo River Mouth is contrary to the public interest as detailed in the Tri-Community Master Plan. Simple and straightforward. No interpretation of laws or permits already granted. And of course, so strongly supported throughout the unanimously approved Tri-Community Master Plan. The letter further asks the municipalities to submit that resolution to EGLE and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as part of their permit reviews. It is vital, it is really vital that the three municipalities voice the concerns of the citizenry as part of the state and federal permit reviews. Their voice, our elected representative governmental body, carries a lot more weight than individual citizens. Not to say you guys are off the hook, you need to submit your letters as well. But if we can get our local elected officials as our representative government to submit a resolution stating the proposed sand dune mine and marina are not in the public interest, it will carry a lot more weight. We cannot stress this point enough. We need our elected officials to speak out in one voice, representing the citizenry for whom they serve. And it's important for all of us to remember and to keep mentioning the city of Saugatuck and Saugatuck Township were and will be formally noticed by EGLE and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in the permit review process. That means that as immediately adjacent property owners to the proposed sand dune mine and marina, the city and the township are formally asked to comment. By remaining silent, we are sending a false and dangerous message that we place no value on the ecological, historical, cultural, and economic value of the Kalamazoo River Mouth. And of course, that is simply wrong, as fully articulated in the Tri-Community Master Plan. We're asking our elected officials to hear our voices and clearly communicate our objections, as articulated in the Tri-Community Master Plan. I'm going to say it again. The city of Saugatuck, Saugatuck Township have been noticed by EGLE and Army Corps of Engineers noticed by law and asked for their comments on the proposed excavation and removal of 250,000 tons of sand from within Michigan's critical dune boundary for a sand dune mine and marina. An excavation that would destroy the archaeological site of Singapore, surrounded by publicly funded natural areas. That notice went to City Council in Saugatuck in 2017. Let that sink in for a moment. The City of Saugatuck, Saugatuck Township were also asked to comment in the 2018 Section 106 Historic Properties Review of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The city did not submit any comment, even though the placard, the Michigan Historic Plaque for the Michigan Historic Site of Singapore, stands in front of Saugatuck City Hall. The township, with the new administration, has submitted 4 letters in that review. As a reminder, well, I already said that, so I will not repeat myself. I was going to talk about the Michigan Historic Places plaque. So the letter we are asking you to sign, again, is very straightforward. Please read it. Ask questions if you have questions, concerns. You should have my email address. My telephone number is 248-302-0798. You can text me any of your questions. Our email address is SD, Saugatuck Dunes, SD Coastal Alliance @gmail.com. You can also send me an email at swan, SWAN, .dunes@gmail.com. I'm fine taking calls and answering your questions and concerns. It would also be great if you could handwrite a few sentences about why it's important to you to stop the excavation and removal of 250,000 tons of sand from within Michigan's critical dune boundary for a proposed sand dune mine and a marina. Here are a few examples of what your comments could look like. And remember what this Michigan Supreme Court clarified. We must participate. We must articulate how we are personally impacted by the proposed project if we want to be able to contest a decision allowing the proposed sand dune mine and marina. We are here to help with your comments. Again, you can call us if you know our board chair, Bobby Gaunt, if you know Becky Bruns, Holly Anderson. We are all willing and ready to help all of you. If you know any of the board members of the Saugatuck Dunes Coastal Alliance, reach out to them with questions. If you do not live or vote in one of the 3 municipalities, you aren't off the hook. If you visit the tri-communities, if you spend money here, then your voice is equally as important. Some would say more important. We are a tourist-based economy, and you are vital to our economic existence. Write a few sentences describing how you use the river mouth area, how a proposed sand dune mine and marina would impact your visits, and how you might then be forced to go elsewhere, spend your money elsewhere. The letter, again, the letter is available as a download from our website. Please encourage neighbors, friends, family, colleagues to all submit letters to our elected officials. Our elected officials' names are on the downloadable letter with their email addresses. We will be encouraging people to submit all the letters before October 3rd. That is in 1 week. As we get closer to the public hearing, the public comment period for the EGLE permit, the state reapplication, we'll reach out to you again as long as you fill out that contact card and we know how to reach you. So we'll reach out to you again to write letters and make public statements. So a few quick thoughts as I'm wrapping up here. Thank you for your patience. Thanks for your engagement. Thanks for listening this evening or this morning or whenever you listen to this. So I should not have set that piece of paper aside. So first, thank you to our board, our volunteers, our donors, our legal team, all who have advised and supported us. We absolutely would not be here without you. Thanks to the artists whose work is represented in our book, Saugatuck Dunes, Artists Respond to a Freshwater Landscape. The artists whose work we were honored to be able to feature in our advertising campaign this summer, as well as in tonight's PowerPoint presentation. Anne Corlett, thank you for this fabulous painting of the cove. Our community of artists reminds us of Saugatuck's remarkable intersection of history, conservation, and art, and we need to preserve this intersection. Second, we really need your participation. Now is the time. Joining our letter writing campaign and encourage family, friends, colleagues, and neighbors to sign and submit a letter to their municipality, to all the municipalities. And third, thank you to our elected officials and our appointed officials and those running for office. You all work really, really hard with very little thanks and a lot of kicks to the shins. You work under a great amount of stress and pressure. You all do hard work to do your best to your greatest abilities to make our communities more livable. So thank you. Truly, honestly, deeply, sincerely, thank you for stepping up to represent us. We appreciate it. And please, we really need your help. Now is the time to be bold and take action. We won't get another chance to save the wild heart of Saugatuck. We just won't. It's now. We need you to take bold action. We need you to step up and say, this is not in the public interest. It is contrary to the public interest. And a final note, this election cycle, let's talk policy. Let's talk responsibility. Our community deserves real policy discussion and debate. Our tri-community master plan shows pretty clearly that we're up to that task. So let's all get to work, good people. Let's protect the wild heart of Saugatuck. That's what needs to be debated. And there really shouldn't be a debate if you've read the tri-community master plan. So, as my mother, Anne Swan, would say, please, and thank you. Have a lovely evening, a lovely day. Thank you so much for your engagement and your participation. We appreciate it. Now it will probably take me 3 minutes to figure out how to end this.